Mayor, Council, staff, Matt Holzaffel, Director of Public Works. I'd like to take you through a project update to kind of look at what we've accomplished, the Public Works Department, in this current fiscal year and what's upcoming for next fiscal year. And then I have quite a few, 11 to be exact, budget offers, so it's going to take a while to get through those. Cliff allowed me to present 11, so it's a large number, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
11 small ones, is that what you're saying?
First, I'd like just to reacquaint the council with the Public Works Department. Consists of 9 divisions. When everybody, all positions are filled, it's approximately 258 authorized positions. The breakdown on that is our street division has 51 positions, and with that they maintain 1,150 lane miles of street, 280 lane miles of paved alley, sidewalks all over the street. They also manage the Real Texas Road project to rebuild approximately 10 to 12 miles of residential streets every year. And all the drainage systems within the city of Mesquite. So 51 people in the street department doing a lot of work. Our utility division has 82 personnel to maintain 602 miles of water lines, 485 miles of sewer lines. In that number of 82 personnel for utilities is also our meter reader group, which is almost 18 people, 17 and a half full-time equivalent employees there. Solid waste, we have 64 personnel in our solid waste division, which handles all our residential trash pickup, our recycling program, our transfer station at the City Service Center that transfers the trash to the landfill, our composting facility, and they are obviously very, very busy. Equipment Services is kind of an internal group that maintains all the city vehicles and equipment, keeps our rolling stock rolling. They also maintain our heavy equipment, construction equipment, as well as even down to chainsaws and so forth. That consists of 20 mechanics and 4 administrative personnel. Traffic engineering, 14 personnel, 3 engineers and 11 field staff, maintain 120 signals, 78 school flashers, 33,000 signs, and almost 1,300 freeway lights out there. So you can imagine those 11 personnel are moving pretty fast all the time. Our engineering division is responsible for our capital programs. They basically are inspectors and project managers, engineers that handle our roadway thoroughfare program. They help the street department in getting out and managing the contracts for the Real Texas Road program, and they also review and inspect all private development infrastructure that's being put in by private developers. Infrastructure management, just a tiny 2-person division, but does a lot of work helping us target our money and spend our money in the appropriate locations so that we're hitting the infrastructure and repairing that infrastructure and doing it with the most efficient use of our tax dollars that we get from our fees and our taxes. Geographic information systems, that's basically our data and mapping systems. 7 people in that group, but they provide services to virtually every department and division within the city of Mesquite. Those nice heat maps you see displayed for code and crime and things of that nature, they do all that type of mapping project and assist those departments in producing visual displays to analyze data, but they also keep track of our internal infrastructure. All those numbers I gave you on how many miles of street and water and sewer mains and so forth, they have the data, and they're the ones that manage that system to produce those maps and those numbers. Then we have a small administration group within Public Works as well. Let's talk about some of our accomplishments. Yes, sir.
If you go back real quick, Matt, I'm sorry, just real quick on that first page.
Get it.
Sorry. Do we have much collaboration between your solid waste supervisors who are also licensed code inspectors? Are we able to do much these days between code and your department if there's issues in certain neighborhoods? I know here a while back we had some issues again, like in Valley View Heights, where there needed to be some education of how people were handling their trash, and those licensed code inspectors who were also solid waste supervisors were helping with that. And I was just curious if that's something that continues to happen.
We're on a first-name basis with code. We collaborate on a lot of programs. When we see problems with trash collection, for instance, the other day there was a washateria that had a trash facility that was just overflowing, okay? So solid waste went in there, they did the cleanup, they had talks, they brought code enforcement in, and then we also found out there was a homeless person living in the bushes behind that dumpster, so police got involved. So our solid waste folks, they're driving around all the time, and they see a lot of things, and so they're constantly working with our code folks,
Good,
as
good.
well as the police department and other related departments within the city. We're very good at collaborating with various groups, both elected officials, citizens, and departments within the city.
It won't hurt my feelings if those solid waste supervisors have their ticket books with them occasionally for code stuff too. So
They are ready for it, and they do issue citations, sir. To kind of go through some of our accomplishments for this current fiscal year, the Real Texas Road program is obviously one of our major CIP programs in the city. We are rebuilding in one way or another using a number of different reconstruction methods and rehabilitation methods, anywhere from 10 to 12 miles of roadways every single year. We're finishing up the second year street program. There's just a few streets we have to overlay. They're nearly finished with the second year streets, ready to launch on the third year streets. They've actually been leaning forward on the third year streets, doing some of the full depth repair and things of that nature, getting those primed. So once the council gives us the green light to move forward on that third year streets, and that's kind of linked to the next item, the optimized street reconstruction process evaluation. As council recalls, citizen concerns and council concerns and even staff concerns with our optimized street reconstruction process led to us hiring a consulting firm and evaluating the process in depth. The initial draft report's been given to council back in July. The final report is finished. That has the peer review as well, and that will be presented to council on August 6th. And we hope at that point to receive council approval to move full steam ahead on the third year Streets in the Real Texas Road program. There are a number of recommendations. We're leaning forward and already working with our contractors to implement the findings of that report. Motley Drive, I wish I could tell you that should have been finished a while ago. Construction, we hope to have it completed this fall. Contractor is substantially behind schedule on that project, unfortunately, but it is coming together. Most of the pavement is complete. They are putting in sidewalks and so forth, but there is a lot of cleanup, median work, and so forth that has to be finished on that project to turn it over to the citizens so it'll be completed and look nice. Our Thompson Square project, we did complete the redesign, issuing a change order on that project and construction. Since we started, construction again, a lot of pavement has gone down on that project, and we're well underway on that. There's $4,700,000 worth of work is already complete on that project. So out of a $10,900,000 contract, so it's roughly 50% complete at this point. On the Military Trail Project Phase 1, that's under construction from LBJ Freeway to the Dallas city limits on Military. That is a grant project where $875,000 out of that $1,600,000 project is through a TechStock grant that's administered by the COG. So that's well underway at present, roughly 50% complete. The Cyene Road project, which is a project last year during budget time, wasn't even on our radar, but became a high priority project to design and get to bid that project within a short 6-month time frame. We were successful in doing that. The road is under construction at present. It's a $8,825,000 project, and only after 3.5 months of construction, there's over $3 million worth of that work is completed. If you've gone out there near the Ashley facility, there's a lot of concrete already on the ground out there, and virtually all the utility work is done. So that is moving ahead very, very nicely. Dallas County, by the way, is participating in the funding of that project to the tune of $3,800,000. We do try and leverage, you'll notice in a lot of these projects, they are leveraged with non-city money through Dallas County, various grants that we are very active in trying to pursue with our partner agencies. Townies Boulevard Phase 1, which is Military Parkway to Skyline, is under construction. It's roughly 56% finished. It's an $11,800,000 project. $6,600,000 is complete, and it is on schedule. There's also a pavement repair, mill and overlay asphalt project that is nearing completion as well. It's about $1.5 million project, and this was to overlay, to rehabilitate Northwest Drive, north of I-30, Kearney Street, Gross Street south of 635, and Bruton Road to the west of LBJ Freeway. Northwest and Kearney are finished. Gross and Bruton we're getting ready to overlay those as well. Townies Boulevard Phase 2. As you're all aware, we had numerous public hearings, surveys, questionnaires, and so forth, and the most involved public input process of any project that I'm aware of here in the city of Mesquite to get that project, the public input on that project. We're through with that now. Council has approved the design concepts, and we are finishing up the design and hope to have that ready to bid shortly here. We also went through on Skyline Drive, because it was kind of linked to our Townies Boulevard project. We went through an extensive public hearing process on that as well, with separate public hearings, some joint public hearings with the Townies Boulevard projects, but then separate public hearings that were targeted specifically to Skyline that many of you participated in, and that was all accomplished by our engineering division as well. Long list here. Downtown, supporting the council. Yes, sir. Holler at me. I've been told to keep it short, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you push back for just a second?
Yes, sir.
The last one. Have we had conversations with the county about a partial match on Skyline Drive?
We have not as yet, sir. Engineering has not.
Okay. And now that we're through and we've determined, the type on road, when are we looking at beginning construction date? Just general estimate.
The Skyline Boulevard project, I'm trying to remember from our CIP, I want to say it's 2020 we receive our first infusion of money. It's not enough to build the project, but we could start design on the project at that point. Per the CIP, I think it's 2 or 3 years worth of allocating funding till we get a pot of money. So it's probably in the neighborhood of 2022, 23 when we would actually start construction.
So based upon that timeline, and I don't want to slow it
Yes,
down
sir.
at all, do we still have time to see about getting some matching funds from the county for that road?
Absolutely,
Yes.
sir.
That's our plan.
And if that's the plan, I just heard. So the plan is to knock on the county's door and see if we can get maybe up to 50% match, right?
Correct. Typically, the county will match funds for roadway projects like that up to 50% of the pavement cost. Yes, sir.
That'd be great. And would their match help us accelerate the construction of it because we'd have more money presently available?
Absolutely, sir.
Good, thank you.
Some of that, if I can weigh in, the dealings I've had with the county over Skyline's a good example. We went in, it sometimes depends on their funding cycles, whether or not it would be moved forward, and sometimes depending on what I've been able to experience with them is we have some slotted, and I think we've had the conversation, we have some slotted projects that we're looking in out years, and you start shifting those around and saying, no, this is a priority. And and I'll get with Matt, just so you'll know, and I'll promise, I'll get with him, and we'll go down there and talk to a couple of the commissioners. And so.
I forgot one more.
Sure.
What about gross between 635 and US 80?
We've not programmed any funds for a major rework of that roadway at all.
What about what about a pavement repair mill and asphalt overlay?
We could look at that. Currently, that's not programmed into our CIP schedule anywhere, but we are doing our pavement preservation type work in many areas where, you know, you've seen us on Beltline and Kearney and other places, Oates Drive, we've gone up there where we go in and replace pieces, you know, panels that are failed and things of that nature. And certainly, that's one of the roadways that would receive on an annual basis, a crew going through there and doing major pavement preservation work, sir.
One, the reason I'm mentioning that in particular, number one, is the condition of that particular section. It's just in really rough shape.
Yes.
Number two, you've got Gross and Kearney. I just have to do that. That length, people are praising that section.
Yes.
I've had comments like, I don't feel a bump, it's terrific, this is wonderful, and that it got done so quickly.
Yes, sir.
And so, I mean, that's all the way up to 635, so my thought is, why not just get it all the way to 80 and get that other section? That's why I'm asking that question in particular. It just seems like it would make sense to push it on all the way to 80 to finish and not just do the Kearney Gross length. Anyway, do you see what I'm after?
Yes, sir.
So if
we
y'all
can
could-
certainly
Matt,
work-
just when I spoke to Mark Hodges about it, we were doing the spot repairs there first, and that's why we didn't include that in the overlay. So we felt the spot repairs were the better way to go on that section.
Yeah. Further question? I'm going to touch on a few of the accomplishments, some more primarily targeted on utility work. Obviously, we're working with our economic development group to push forward the downtown visioning and infrastructure plan. We do have the design contract for Front Street in place. Surveying's already taken place, and we do have our kickoff meeting with the consultant next week with the idea to complete plans on the Front Street construction project to implement what's come out of the visioning and infrastructure plan, and hopefully have that for bid the end of this year, beginning of next year, so that we can construct Front Street next year. Some notable water and sewer projects that were completed or are underway this year. The Big Town elevated water tank has been completely repainted interior and exterior. There were some structural repairs on the interior of the tank that took place. It should extend the life of that tank for another 20 years. That's been completed. The Haley Pump Station had some pump improvements to give us greater flexibility in pumping out of that pump station, the ability to use our larger pumps, and that's been completed as well. We replaced a large sanitary sewer main that fed the Pepsi facility. As you're all aware, Pepsi has undergone numerous incremental improvements and expansions of their Pepsi bottling facility, and we found that it was overloading some of our lines. So we had to go in there and replace a large section of main from East Meadows Boulevard all the way up to I-30 to support that major industry in Mesquite. We also have several very large sanitary sewer rehab projects that have been completed or underway. One down near Pascal Park is lining some of our large diameter RCP sanitary sewer trunk mains that are a concern for the city. And we're also, with utility replacement, supporting our Real Texas Road program, getting out there in front of the roadway improvements and replacing selectively water and sewer mains that we feel are necessary so that we don't put a new pavement surface or rehab surface over deteriorated utility lines. So we're doing that. Plus, our own city reconstruction crew has relaid 4 streets totaling about 2/3 of a mile of 6-inch water lines. So our own utility crews are relaying many of these lines as well. Other things that we're doing, as you're aware, virtually every TxDOT interstate or roadway in the city of Mesquite is undergoing some sort of design improvement. And so the city of Mesquite, especially the engineering division, is spending a great deal of time coordinating with TxDOT staff, reviewing plans, giving them suggestions and ideas on what we would like to see as a city as far as interchanges, number of lanes, configuration of lanes, and so forth. Of note, the project that is nearing completion is the 635 US 80 frontage road on the southeast corner of Interstate 635 and 80. That's virtually complete right now. They are putting final touches on that. But that has dramatically improved and reduced the congestion at the LBJ Gross Road intersection, as well as the US 80 Galloway intersection. If you drive through those 2 intersections much, you'll notice since they opened up that roadway and put all the lanes into service, the congestion has disappeared at those 2 locations. Another notable project is the LBJ East project. The Regional Transportation Council and TxDOT in Austin have approved that project for construction. So TxDOT is right now, they're out there, put an RFP for a design build contract is out on the streets right now. TxDOT is leaning forward. They're actually doing the noise walls in the city of Mesquite. They've already finished them in Garland, but they're under construction in the city of Mesquite, so we're coordinating with TxDOT staff on that work. And we just approved some of the aesthetics for the LBJ East project as well. The council had seen those previously, but they're putting that information out to their design build team. So that is likely to go to construction in late next year, 2019. And we are a little bit concerned with that. Major roadway project like that, interstate project, certainly will affect our major arterials in North Mesquite. So one of the things we want to do in the next year is look at mitigation plans on how to handle the diversion of traffic from LBJ to some of our arterials there. Obviously, we have a lot of vigorous private development. David Witcher, our economic development manager, has kind of reviewed some of those things, but we have Hagen Hill with the first and second phases. The infrastructure's on the ground. We're reviewing plans for the 3rd phase of Hagen Hill. 3rd phase alone is 102 lots. That's nearing approval, those plans. We have Ridge Ranch, Phase 1, or 1B, and Phase 2, which compromises about 140 lots. Plans are, some of those are released, and the remainder of Ridge Ranch is about to be released. We obviously have the IDI project, the Ashley project, the I-30 medical office building that's going up at I-30 in Motley, and the I-20 corridor development. Engineering staff is very involved in all those projects. For next year, workload, twirling a lot of plates on sticks, and we have a great team that is going to deliver these projects to you next year. Real Texas Road project, we are looking forward to starting our 3rd-year streets. We have a lot of citizens right now calling us, how come you haven't started? And we are leaning forward on some of those, but the citizens want those streets replaced, and they're very anxious to get that going. We're anxious to start on it. The Thompson Square project, we will finish that next fiscal year as well, and that will be delivered to the citizens and the motorists out there. Scion Road will be complete. We hope to have that finished by the end of 2018 to provide service to the Ashley development, as well as a new entrance into our airport, realigned entrance to the airport, and to eventually provide that connection to the new State Highway 190. Town East Boulevard Phase 1, we hope to deliver that project to the citizens out there and businesses in our industrial district. And we will bid and start construction of our Town East Boulevard Phase 2 project. We hope to bid that by the end of this year and start construction in 2019. That goes all the way from US 80 to Skyline Drive, completes that long segment along there. We have Town East Boulevard Trail. This is a grant project as well. This is actually in the first phase. We actually decoupled the trail from the roadway project that's currently underway right now, because there's a different set of contractual requirements that are needed for each project. Plus TxDOT was late in providing our agreements for that grant. So as soon as the Town East Boulevard Phase 2, or Phase 1 project finishes construction, we're actually going to start a new project along that same alignment to put in a nice trail on the east side of that roadway for the citizens out there. And that will connect to that Military Parkway trail that's currently under construction. So we're getting that trail connectivity built throughout the city of Mesquite. Gus Thomason Road will be bid and start construction. This is the segment mentioned from US 80 to Town East Boulevard. We will bid and start construction on Front Street. That Front Street project obviously entails a lot of drainage and utility work as well, water and sewer work as well. Project Stallion will bid and start construction. That is a major kind of joint venture project between the city of Mesquite and private developers and MISD, and it's to rebuild the drainage channel on South Mesquite Creek from Town East Boulevard south past North Mesquite Drive and all the way down to Town Center Drive. Keep going, huh? Gotcha. Military Parkway Trail Phase 2 is another grant project that's being designed by Dallas County Public Works, and that will take the project from LBJ through the downtown area to Galloway Avenue. And that is a major project that will help support our downtown development as well. And we hope to complete the design of that. We don't receive our next infusion of money to build that project until October 2019, but the design will be finished this coming fiscal year. Major utility projects and other initiatives in the Public Works Department. Supporting the I-20 corridor development out in Kaufman County is our 24-inch water main and pump station to provide water on the far side of the Trinity River to Kaufman County and the annexed areas of the city over there. This will be supporting the Polo Ridge development, the Heartland development, and others that are out there. We hope to bid and start construction next fiscal year. We're going to decouple the pump station from the water main project. We hope to build the water main well ahead of finishing the pump station to provide at least some flow to the Polo Ridge development early before the pump station is complete. Our Palos Verdes Lake project, this is a dam and spillway reconstruction up at Palos Verdes Lake. It is required by the Texas TCEQ as part of dam safety requirements. And so we will be bidding that in October, and it's a $1.4 million, sorry. It does come out wrong, doesn't it? But they are. It's the state has safety requirements for dams. Well, let's say it that way. But there are state mandates, and we will be bidding and reconstructing. That means we're actually going to draw down the water in the lake somewhat, build a cofferdam in front of the outlet structure, and literally take a section of the dam out and rebuild that outlet structure to meet state requirements. There's other park improvements that are involved in that as well. There's a number of sanitary sewer projects, again, continuing with our reconstruction and rehabilitation of our infrastructure on that side, on the sanitary sewer side of things. We will continue to upgrade our traffic signal system. We're continually replacing controllers and the various devices that make up our traffic signal system. Video detection, battery backup power supplies to provide better reliability and to give us greater control over our signal system. We will continue coordinating with TxDOT on the LBJ East project and develop mitigation strategies on traffic impacts to North Mesquite. We are also, council, if you recall, council approved a contract to have us look at all our design and construction standards. Staff has spent a huge number of man-hours looking at every element of our design criteria, from roadways to alleys, water sewer mains, drainage structures, and so forth. We hope to bring that to City Council for adoption this coming fiscal year as well. We will be implementing our asset management and work order software. This is a program, software package that will enable us to tie every single time we touch a water main, a sewer main, a street, tie it into a database so that we can develop those kind of heat maps that you see others do. We can see where our problems are with our water and sewer infrastructure, our street infrastructure, and so forth, so that we can best target our dollars to what's actually failing and get the best bang for the buck on our rehabilitation work. We are implementing an equipment services work order system. Right now, what we do with equipment services as far as taking vehicles and equipment in and getting them repaired, a lot of it's done by hand. Some of it's done in our accounting system, but our accounting system is really not equipped to provide us the data that we need to do that effectively. So that is actually being implemented as we speak, and hope to have that fully implemented early next fiscal year. And then we will continue our vigorous support of private development throughout the city of Mesquite, but especially targeting that I-20 corridor. Now, moving on to a segment which is really our budget offers for the Public Works Department. There are, out of the 11 council priorities that you have established, Public Works really focuses on 3 of those, and that, of course, number 1 is our infrastructure maintenance. Public Works is infrastructure, the things that we take for granted, the water and sewer mains under the ground, the drainage, our roadways. So very important that we spend our money wisely and effectively as we're rehabilitating and assessing those programs. So we're focused on meeting council's priorities regarding infrastructure maintenance. We are supporting the downtown redevelopment, obviously the Front Street, our visioning program and infrastructure plan, the new Military Parkway trail that is going to be coming into the downtown area. Those are big initiatives for the Public Works and Engineering group in Public Works that we're supporting the council initiatives there. And of course, the IH-20 corridor development. There's so much happening out in that corridor. It's ready to explode. It is exploding, actually. And we have to be ready with infrastructure out in that area with the water and sewer agreements and infrastructure in place to support that development. This is a chart out of our community survey that was presented to the council a few months back to remind council of some of the citizens' priorities concerning infrastructure here in the city of Mesquite. And number 1 out of the study was our maintenance of city streets and sidewalks. That was the number 1 priority for our citizens as determined by that very effective survey. Third on the priority of the citizens was flow of traffic on city streets. As our population grows, as our interstates tend to get congested, Some of that traffic is being is spilling over onto our city arterials. And so we have been noticing concerns and a little bit more congestion on our city streets, especially the signalized intersections, and the citizens have noticed it as well. Fifth and eighth on the citizens' priorities is the quality of our water and sewer services and quality of trash and yard waste services. There's high satisfaction rates in those areas, but it's important to our citizens. So our budget offers are going to reflect these priorities, both the council's priorities as well as the citizens' priorities as reflected. Our first budget offer and our highest priority budget offer right now is getting some additional dollars to our street division to buy concrete and asphalt supplies, road repair supplies. We're asking for $200,000. This is a general fund item. Currently, our budget for all the road supplies we use in repairing our roadways for rehabilitation work. This is not contract work that that are separate projects, but this is materials our own road crews use to repair our roads on a daily basis, is $877,000 a year. A $200,000 increase is a substantial increase. It's roughly a 23% increase over our current budget, but this buys all the concrete, the asphalt, the reinforcing steel, rock, everything down to the form nails we use to build forms to pour concrete. Our crews presently, we literally have to throttle the work our crews are doing and go on to things that don't require materials, such as doing drainage work and things of that nature. During parts of the year because we literally run out of funds for roadway repair materials. So this is to give them additional funds so that we can just repair more roads with our city street crews. To kind of give you an idea of what $200,000 would buy, if that all went into just concrete, it's equivalent to roughly half a mile of residential street paving. It doesn't go a huge distance, but it certainly gives us a lot more capability. Right now, I know council is concerned about some of the roadway repair methods that we use, especially on our major thoroughfares where we go in and we do the optimized overlay on our major thoroughfares. We've experimented with that. The recommendation in the reports that we're getting that council has seen is recommending that we not do that on some of our heavier trafficked roadways. But if we're going to continue to maintain our major thoroughfares, then we're going to need the materials so we can do these full depth repairs instead of doing the optimized method on our roadways. So that is our number one request from council right now, is this additional materials for roadway. Any questions on that one at all? Our next request, the next few requests, matter of fact, have to do with our utility division. The utility division, a lot what we do there is highly regulated by the state and the EPA. One mandate that they have on us is to eliminate our sanitary sewer overflows within the city of Mesquite. 89% of our sanitary sewer overflows within the city of Mesquite are caused by grease and fat in our sewer lines. And that photo you see on the right-hand side, that's actual photos in our system where people are putting fats and oils and things like that down their drains. Some of it, I'm sure, is coming from businesses and commercial establishments as well. And it literally, once it gets into our system, it turns into almost a tar-like substance that stops up the sewer lanes and causes them to back out, and we get a sanitary sewer overflow. That's not anything we can really predict very well, so we just react to those things. The real way to stop it is by education and inspection. So this program is asking for $168,000 for 3 full-time positions. It would be an inspector and 2 maintenance workers. The inspector, literally, our plan is to go to establishments, especially restaurants that put lots of oil and fats down their system. They have grease traps, but there's no mandated time or inspection program on grease traps that they're being pumped out when they need to be, when they're full. Our health department does get manifest to make sure they're pumped out at least once a year, but clearly once a year is not enough. So this is to start an inspection program where we actually have them open these things up. We make a visual inspection, make sure that they are not over full, and if they are, that we get them to pump these out on a more frequent basis so we avoid situations like this.
I have a question.
Yes,
Matt,
sir.
when our pipe gets clogged like that, does that have to be replaced, or can that be cleaned? What do we do when it happens?
We do clean these. We have what they call a jet vac truck. So when we run into a situation like this, it's a truck that has a jet hose that can go several hundred feet into this line, and it actually, through high-pressure water, it scours the inside of that line and flushes these fats and oils downstream. But then we have the vac part of the truck. It's basically a giant vacuum cleaner that we stick down in the manhole, and as these materials come down into that manhole, we vacuum that material out of the manhole. It goes into a holding tank in the truck, and then we run that truck down to the wastewater treatment plant and dump it in their facility there for proper treatment.
Okay, thank you.
Another mandated request is $76,000 for another full-time technician and a vehicle to increase our production staff so that we have adequate staff to handle all the samples that we take during the course of a year. The vast majority of these samples are mandated by environmental regulation at both the EPA level and the TCEQ level at the state level. We currently quite literally don't have enough staff to pull all the samples required. And so we often pull meter readers and other production staff over to kind of plug the holes that we have when a sampling program is underway to make sure that this is getting done. If we fail to do this, there can be fines and penalties related to missing this. We had an incident last year where we take these samples at a home. The home actually has to be approved by the TCEQ, our sampling point. When we arrived at the home to take the sample, found out that the homeowner had moved out and it was a vacant property. So we didn't realize until we showed up to take the sample that we would not be able to take a sample there. And so we took a sample close by one of the neighbor homes, but because it was not an approved sampling point, they called that a failed sample, and we had to send out letters to the residents in the city of Mesquite. That's not only a bad PR situation for the city, but it costs us roughly $20,000 plus to send out one letter to every meter account we have in the city of Mesquite. So that was a $20,000 problem for the city of Mesquite. We feel that by having it, we really need to have another technician to adequately man our sampling program, to show up these homes, make sure that they are occupied before we're required to get sampling done there. Another initiative in our utility department is we'd like to start a pilot program for GPS tracking for the 62 utility vehicles in the city of Mesquite. We feel that this program, we're only asking for $31,000. It sounds like a lot, but we think we can gain back quite a bit of that on an annual basis by saving fuel and by improving the productivity of our workers in the utility department. We're starting small. This is kind of a pilot program, but it gives us several advantages. We know it will reduce fuel usage by reducing idling and so forth. We do have an idling requirement or limitation here in the city of Mesquite, but there's no way to monitor that. These GPS trackers, they literally plug into the OBD port in a car, so it constantly gives information on the diagnostics of the car itself. It actually will send trouble codes to our Equipment Services Division if the car is having any sort of issues. It will improve safety as well because we can actually track vehicle speeds and make sure the drivers are traveling the posted speed limit in the city. It also improves management oversight because if we have a problem on the north side of town, we don't know who's on the north side of town to dispatch to that problem because we have no idea where our vehicles are located. So this gives us the ability to know exactly where these utility vehicles are located at any point in time so we can dispatch the closest available unit to an emergency type situation. This will be tracked and to make sure that we achieve the efficiencies and fuel savings that we're predicting. If it turns out that we're not achieving those, we can always pull the plug on the program, but we want to, this is actually a dollar request that will get us through several years of this, and that we'll be able to look and make sure that we get the efficiencies, the fuel savings and so forth that we're predicting before we expand this program. Any questions on that?
Just the fact that we need to do that, I mean, you'll gain $31,000, especially if you spread it out throughout the city in 6 months or less, in time, in idling, in gas, in finding out where your employees are that you don't know about, and that driving right there that loops back around. I had a friend of mine that runs about 20 trucks in Allen, and he said within 30 days, he saved, the gas was 30% less. You know, employees were taking lunch breaks at their girlfriend. I mean, he found out, not that ours are, but it's huge. That's minimal of money for.
As mentioned, we have 260 employees in Public Works, and there's probably a few of them that are probably driving where they shouldn't be driving and things of that nature, or not taking the most direct route to where they've been dispatched. This will give us the ability to monitor that. It'll also get us the ability to monitor their idling. Per city ordinance, we're only supposed to idle up to 5 minutes, okay? I guarantee you in a hot summer, they're probably parking their car and letting the air conditioner run, and a big dump truck probably idling for hours trying to keep it cool while the men are outside working. And that can chew up a lot of fuel. It can put a lot of wear and tear on vehicles. And we think we can recoup this investment back very, very quickly. Another efficiency improvement, this is again our utility division. We're asking for 12 laptops to be put in the vehicles of our utility crew chiefs. Currently now, we just have a handful of laptops in our utility vehicles. As we implement our asset management work order system, we'd like to be able to issue work orders directly to the crew leaders while they're out in the field, instead of having them to come in and pick up some paper copies of what needs to be done. We also have on our city, part of the GIS system, we have a infrastructure web map that allows them to pull up record drawings for any water, sewer, drainage line within the city of Mesquite. So they'll be able to go out there and locate their facilities very readily by getting into high-resolution images through these laptops. We think, again, this will greatly improve the efficiency of our utility crews. It will help with the implementation of our asset and work order software, and give us the ability to assign work orders on the fly while the crews are in the field and using that GPS to the closest available crew that's out there in the field. Another one of our budget officers is in our utility division. As you're aware, we do have a water conservation and recycling coordinator. We'd like to reclassify and upgrade this position to a sustainability coordinator, and also to add a part-time graduate intern to this position to help with educational activities. Right now, our water conservation and recycling coordinator does a huge amount of education throughout the community on our recycling programs, water conservation programs, how to take advantage of our composting facility and things of that nature. And she does do some grant applications, particularly for solid waste. But she doesn't have the time at present to pursue all the grants we would like to pursue, and to also help us dive deep into some of our programs to see where can we save money. For instance, I showed you that GPS program type thing. We need someone really that can look at the data that comes out of that GPS tracking program, find the vehicles that are idling too much, and have talks with those employees, things of that nature, to look at our city facilities as well. Is there a way we can save electricity? Are there ways we can save gas and other energy sources for our city operations? We really don't have anybody that's dedicated to those type of programs right now. So what we'd like to do, it's a fairly small request, $27,000, to upgrade this position, and to add a part-time graduate intern to kind of take over some of the educational outreach that we do in the various schools and citizens groups throughout the city, to inform them of the programs the city has for recycling and other green initiatives within the city. Again, I think this is more of an investment. I think if we can have an individual that is targeted towards looking at grants that are available for energy efficiency, for recycling and things of that nature, that we could probably recoup most of this money that we put towards this expanded position in grants and other things that we can acquire through this position. Any questions on that? Remember, there's 11 of these. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. Another position we're asking for, this is a new position in our infrastructure management division of $89,000. We are implementing this new CityWork asset management software, and council has approved that contract. We are going forward and starting the implementation now. But what we have found is these large software packages that are used by literally hundreds of people within the city of Mesquite, they need a full-time administrator to make them effective, and so that they actually get implemented and used by all the employees. Our asset management software is going to be used by our public works staff, but also our parks department staff. We did invite our building maintenance staff, but they are going to target, they're looking at a different piece of software that's really focused on just building maintenance and building assets. But because our experience with both the Munis accounting system now has a full-time administrator, the EnerGov program that we use for plan review as well as code enforcement has a full-time administrator. Spillman, the public safety dispatch system, it has lots of support as well. We really feel we need a full-time analyst to make this program, the software implementation, something that sticks and something that's effective and something that provides the value to the city that we hope to have with it. So this is a position to assist with that implementation and continued support over the life of that program. Questions? This is kind of a, again, as I mentioned, we're big on pilot programs. This is a budget offer for our solid waste division to start a pilot program for a semi-automation system in a couple of our routes here in the city of Mesquite. And so the cost of this would be $117,000. It's primarily a capital item to purchase 2,500 36-gallon roll carts, and then tipper equipment. You see that in that photo, to retrofit 2 of our rear loaders within the city of Mesquite. These tippers are basically hydraulically activated, mechanically assist, where you roll the cart up to them. It has kind of a hook on them that grabs a handle on the carts, and it basically takes that 96-gallon cart, flips it over, empties it into the rear loader, and then sets it back down onto the ground. There's still a lot of manual labor in that the solid waste helper has to grab the cart, get it to the tipper, hook it to the tipper, and then cycle the tipper. But it enables them to handle a 96-gallon cart. What we would do is we would select an area of the city to implement this. We would have to obviously do an educational program, let the citizens know what's changing. We'd have to change them over from their privately owned carts to these new 96-gallon carts. And it would be a once-a-week pickup, not a twice-a-week pickup. And so what we would do is run this program for a year, possibly 2 years, and then assess a number of things in the pilot area. Number one, what is our reception from the citizens? Is it well received, the new carts? Is it well received, the once-a-week pickup? What is the public reaction? Also, what is its impact on the blowing trash that we're all concerned about in the pilot neighborhood? Does it reduce the amount of blowing trash and trash we see in the alleys and streets, or is it about the same? So it's kind of a two-pronged thing, and also to assess what sort of production do we get out of our staff from this. Currently, our solid waste routes, they run about 1,000 homes every single day for our rear loaders. We think that we're going to have to possibly, increase our equipment costs or equipment deployment, because we think we probably get somewhere on the number of 500 homes a day with this type of system. So reduction in the number of homes you can pick up a day, but you're picking up larger volumes every time you do pick it up. So we're going to have to assess just how does this impact the effectiveness and the efficiency of our solid waste operations as well. We want to start off slow, get some metrics on this system, figure out if the citizens like this system, and make sure that it's achieving the City Council's goals of improving the aesthetics of our neighborhoods. Any questions on this?
I just have a comment. I was driving up here this morning. I'm excited to see this because one of our churches on the way up here evidently had a party of some sort last night or whatever, and they put their trash out, and evidently the dogs had got into it over the night, and trash was everywhere. So I'm excited to possibly see this coming along so that, it will keep our trash down. And, the plastic bags are great, and they're easy to carry, but if we can keep it confined to keep our animals from getting into it, I think it's a great idea.
Very good, sir.
The other thing, Matt, if you're picking up larger containers, would you make more trips back to the, what do you call the dump station, the waste station?
Our transfer station at the service center, we don't know. That's one of the things that, these trucks obviously have a limited capacity. Currently, in the normal route that we're running, they make 2 trips to the transfer station a day, once usually in the morning, sometimes more if we're running a heavy day where there's been a holiday or something of that nature.
The reason I ask, if you're once a week, it tells me that you're picking up twice as much trash once a week.
Correct.
The trash volume's not going to go down, just the amount of times it gets picked up.
Exactly.
So you should fill that truck faster because you're picking up more per stop.
I think you're absolutely right.
Okay.
And that's why we'd have to go to that once-a-week service, and that's why we really need to kind of set a program like this up, and let's figure out what our efficiencies are. How many homes can we effectively pick up in a day with a unit equipped like this? And if we give individuals a 96-gallon container, if you drive the city right now, there are times where, that's never going to be full, but there are some homeowners, they have a party or something like that, and the 96-gallon container is not going to, be adequate. So there's still going to be some hand pickup around those 96-gallon containers. We think it's going to be much reduced from what we currently see, and should improve, again, the aesthetics of the city by reducing the blowing trash. But there is still going to be a manual labor where we're out there emptying smaller containers as well.
Thank you.
Oh, that's-
I just want to say hallelujah on the test program with the tippers. Something that I started talking about long time ago, and just finally glad to see you open to looking at that. So, thank you.
We're open to new ideas. We want to put our toe in the water and make sure we don't do a big investment and then realize it wasn't as a neat idea as we thought it was. So I'm a big proponent of pilot programs. Let's test it out, let's validate it, and if it works, then we go for wider implementation. Getting close to the end here, Street Division, this is a budget offer for just some additional 3 full-time positions, maintenance workers 1 with our Street Division. $109,000 impact to the general fund. And this is important. Right now, we're running, we spend roughly $70,000 per year on temporary services. And even with that, we don't have full street crews up to our authorized strength. Temporary workers that we hire, they're usually low productivity type people because they're just not trained on the type of work. They're not acclimated to the temperatures and working conditions we have to work in. They're often not familiar with our construction methods and so forth. So we use them. A lot of times we need, bodies to push concrete around, to tie steel. It's fairly easy to learn, and we can usually train those temporary workers. But honestly, at times we just need a lot of bodies on a job to do the manual work that needs to be done when we're repairing pavement, to patch the potholes, to form the concrete, to pour the concrete. So we're making a request for 3 additional workers to get us more up to staff, that we're approach full staffing levels, and to eliminate the temporary workers that we rely on right now. Any questions on that? Engineering Division.
Hey,
This is
Matt, sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
I'll wait until you got started to
Okay.
ask the question. Could you go back a slide?
Sure.
So we're spending $70,000 per year on temp services, and the budget request is $110 for 3 full-time
Yes, sir.
positions.
This would, the 70,000 is what our budget will handle for temporary workers. Again, even hiring temporary workers, you remember we're paying more for a temporary worker than we are for someone we actually hire through our, the city is actually on our payroll. We pay a premium for those temp workers, and then we get low productivity. And that's all our budget will allow, but we generally run somewhere in the area of 3 to 5 workers short on the street department all the time. Typically, when we're hiring temps, this only really gives us, about 2 temps during the course of the year, if we spread that out full-time. So this is, I think, a more effective way of getting productivity out of the workers we do have and bringing our street crews up to close to full staff. We do have a lot of time, a lot of trouble, I mean to say, filling our blue-collar positions in all our positions in public works. We're not only competing with other cities, we're competing with the private sector. Obviously, with construction as strong as it is right now, it's not only us that are competing for those workers, it's every construction company in town. And with the volume of work that's going on, construction is just behind everywhere, and it's primarily because no one can find the workers they need to get work completed. And so we feel this is a way of just keeping our crews closer to being full-staffed.
So for these types of individuals, would it be a pay increase? Are we saying we're just getting, Help me, I guess I'm.
The 70,000 really just gives us, on a temporary basis, about a worker and a half.
Okay.
To replace the 5 that were, 3 to 5 that were usually down. So it gives us some augmentation of our ability,
Okay.
not what we need. And quite frankly, also, our street department, we're just understaffed for the work volume. I mean, if you.
So
you-
if we funded this, 3 extra positions, do we think we'd be able to find the labor pool out there?
It gives us the ability to at least look for it.
Okay.
We think we can. There is a high turnover in all those positions, but
Because we're hiring the temporary workers because we're not filling the current openings. Is that an assumption I have wrong?
true, but it doesn't fill all of those openings, what I'm saying.
Okay.
We're not filling every slot we have open with a temporary worker.
So we have current openings for
Yes,
a
sir.
maintenance worker 1.
Yes.
But we need to go ahead and allocate 3 additional maintenance worker 1s? I
Yes,
guess
sir.
that's the confusion I'm having.
We do need more staff. We need to fill the positions we have, but this is somewhat, think of it this way, of overfilling our positions so that when we have that attrition, that constant attrition, it brings us down to a level that we can still operate and maintain the roadways that we have.
Okay.
It's kind of like, similar to what the police department that you allocated, you allow them to overstaff some positions because you know that there's going to be a certain number of
Right.
vacancies
I
almost
guess
all the
there-
time, and that buffer gives them the ability
Right.
to maintain full staffing.
But I guess there it clicks with me easier because the way the stopgap is overtime expenses, right, at higher salary costs. And here, the stopgap is lower salary costs. So is that just a paradigm shift that I'm not seeing? Or you're saying per person, the temp hire is more expensive because that's only 1.5 compared
Right.
to,
The temps are
The
definitely
3.
more expensive,
it's coming together.
and the temps are not as effective. So we're paying more for less when we use temps.
Okay.
Do you have overtime in addition?
We do run overtime, but it's primarily for like things like special events, like when we have to support a bike race or a downtown parade or things of that nature. We generally don't run our crews on overtime unless, again, there's always call-outs that we have to respond to, but we don't run crews overtime, and especially during the summer, they're just gived out after 8 hours or so. If you work in 110-degree weather, you can only get so much out of them.
Okay, thank you.
Another budget offer is for our engineering division. This is to ask for an additional engineer and public works inspector. Currently, we have 4 public works inspectors and 4 engineers that do project management, and that's kind of spread through both the engineering division and infrastructure management. They handle all the city CIP work related to infrastructure. They also do all the inspection of private development work and plan review of private development work and coordinating with development on those type of things. With the boom that we're seeing in the I-20 corridor and the efficiencies or loss of efficiencies we're going to have in sending personnel out to the I-20 corridor, because it's a long travel distance out there and a long travel distance back to get back to the municipal center. We feel that we need an additional engineer and public works inspector to support our large CIP program, as well as to effectively inspect the work that's going down, being built all throughout the city. Inspectors handle inspection of private development roadways, water, sewer, drainage systems, and all city CIP work. They also handle all franchise utility permits. So if, you can imagine with 4 inspectors, if you're down an inspector due to training and one calls in sick, you might at times have maybe 2 inspectors to inspect all the construction that's going on in the city of Mesquite, both private and city work. So it's imperative that in order to get good quality infrastructure, you have to inspect it. You have to make sure that the specifications and our design requirements are being met as the pipe, as the concrete is going down in the field. And so we really feel the need for an additional inspector to ensure that we're getting good quality inspection and quality infrastructure during this building boom that we're experiencing. An additional engineer, project manager, project engineer, we feel is necessary just to manage the volume of projects and the complexity of the projects that we're dealing with. The projects nowadays are all much more complex than when I was a project manager years ago. There's a lot more regulatory burden as far as TCEQ permits, Corps of Engineer permits, FEMA permits, ADA-type permits that have to be dealt with. But we also have to manage things like the TERS and the reimbursements, the grants, dealing with PIDs and 380 agreements and things of that nature. They all add a regulatory burden and administrative burden on the project engineer that are managing these projects. So this is a request basically just to meet the workload, to ensure that we get the projects out the door that we need to get out, and that once we do get them out the door and they're being constructed, they're being inspected for proper compliance with our city specifications and design requirements. Any questions regarding that one? And I do have one more, traffic engineering. You recall the citizens do have a concern with congestion and flow of traffic in the city of Mesquite. This is a request for an additional full-time senior traffic engineer position at $100,000 plus $5,000 for equipment. We have not had an increase in our traffic division staffing since the year 2000. We're currently staffed, our authorized staff is 3 engineers and 11 field personnel. We are having a significant turnover in traffic engineer. We lost our traffic engineer about 4 months ago. We have had it advertised for 4 months. We've had 6 applicants for that position. Our 2 other traffic engineers that are in that division right now are both planning on retiring next year. So that leaves me with 0 traffic engineers potentially next year. We would like to hire a 4th traffic engineer to handle our signal system. We've grown from 70 some traffic signals to over 120 traffic signals. There's many more requests for studies, for speed studies, for various type of traffic-related site visibility, school studies. There's a lot of review of traffic impact analyses regarding dealing with MISD schools, as well as major development within the city of Mesquite. It's been a while since we've actually gone through and looked at the signal timing and coordination at all our signals throughout the city of Mesquite. All these are duties of a traffic engineer. And that's some of the reasons why we feel that there is a need to add additional staff so that we can focus on our signal system and provide the level of service to the citizens of Mesquite that they need in this particular area.
Okay, Mr. Nussey.
Yeah, so the position that was vacated 4 months ago and you've gotten 6 applications for, is that position filled?
No, sir.
Okay, when do you anticipate filling that position?
Right now, I have 0 applicants that are, I don't know, sir. I hope to have it filled, you know, it's a market type thing. Currently, I have no applicants that are being interviewed or reviewed. The 6 applicants that I have, we interviewed 2, felt that they were not suitable for the position because lack of experience. The other 4 didn't even really meet minimum qualifications. So we're still looking and hoping to attract someone in the next few months.
So, I mean, to me, it seems as though this request could be premature by a year, given the experience you're having filling one traffic engineer position, and now you're looking to add another, so that you would be looking for two traffic engineers.
sir.
And you've had very limited success from a timing standpoint with the first one. Am I missing something, or?
You are correct that we're having a tough time, but we feel the workload that's out there and the things that need to be done related to our signal system and timing, coordination, and so forth. We really need a fourth traffic engineer to meet the workload.
And I'm not, I guess, I'm not disputing that. I'm just wondering about the timing of what that job market looks like right now and whether or not this allocation of funds needs to occur right now. And perhaps wouldn't be better served waiting either to the mid-year or even beyond. So
Mr. Noche,
that's just a thought.
Yeah,
so.
I appreciate that. And if you'll consider the timing, I think Matt submitted this back in March and April, just before the engineer left us. So Matt was looking more for the long-term for the organization. And our recent experience in trying to hire engineers is that it's either zero qualified applicants or there might be two available. So if Matt does fill up, then we can come back and consider this one as a mid-year addition as well. So, but we understand we're going to be short, and I think Matt's just, what I encouraged Matt to do on all of his was look for the long-term future of Public Works to really set us up so we're where he needs staffing. So that's really why this one's in here, is because ultimately, fully staffed, we need those 4 engineers in traffic engineering.
Part of this, Councilman Noche, is just transition planning as well. If I have the 2 remaining traffic engineers retiring next year, I would like to have overlap of the two new ones for at least a period of time, because these signal systems are very complex. And understanding the systems on how all the software works at our traffic management center, as well as the controllers and so forth, it's really important to have that transition. So it'd be wonderful if we could have 2 on board to transition, so when the 2 that are still here leave, that there's been time for that knowledge to be transferred.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? Very good.
Thank you, sir.